You thought you'd seen drama. Baby, this ain't even love and hip-hop anymore. This is Law and Order. Reality Crimes Unit. The final tape just leaked. And Chrissy. Caught on tape. Faking a pregnancy, whispering sweet lies into a burner phone, and banking thousands on a baby that never existed. Jim Jones dropped his pen. The courtroom froze. And Camron. Oh, he's been holding this nuclear receipt for months. What kind of woman turns motherhood into a marketing campaign? What kind of network lets it ride for ratings? And what kind of tape makes the judge skip the trial and go straight for the cuffs? This isn't just messy, it's criminal. It's brand fraud. It's reality TV turned weaponized. And now that the footage is out, VH1's looking shook. Producers are lawyering up, right? And Chrissy's entire empire is collapsing in real time, so get ready. This isn't just a fall from grace. It's a plunge straight into scandal hell. And guess what? The cameras are still rolling. It was supposed to stay hidden. A conversation never meant to leave the hotel suite. Storyline designed to manipulate, not unravel. But then the final tape leaked, and every fake tear, every belly rub, every clickbait pregnancy teaser came crashing down. Chrissy Lampkin didn't just get caught Liang, she got caught producing her own downfall, one fake heartbeat at a time. The voice on the recording was unmistakable hers. Confident, calm, almost proud. I'm not pregnant, but if I say I am, he won't leave. He never leaves when he thinks we're having a baby. The courtroom went silent. Jim Jones, sitting just a few feet away, didn't blink, didn't move. He just sat there like his entire past was collapsing in real time. The judge didn't even ask questions. He just motioned for the bailiff. Cuffs, right there in full glam. No edits, no commercial breaks. It should have been a typical hearing, some legal back and forth. A few petty jabs from opposing lawyers and done. But nothing about this was typical. The courtroom was packed like a movie premiere. Phones silenced, eyes glued to the front. Even the air conditioner couldn't cool the heat coming off that room. Chrissy walked in like she owned the place. Chin high, lashes sharp, rocking designer, everything. As if she wasn't the centerpiece of the mess. She thought she was about to run the show. But someone else brought the receipts. And this time, they weren't paper. They were digital, unedited, unforgiving. The judge leaned over to Chrissy's lawyer and muttered, "Your client might want to sit for this." That's when the bailiff brought out a flash drive labeled Lampkin Raw Files, inserted into the courtroom speakers. And there it was, her voice, on tape, saying everything she was never supposed to say out loud. Calm, cold, calculated. The entire room froze. Even the court reporter stopped typing. Jim's jaw clenched so tight he looked like he might shatter. Chrissy didn't move. She just stared ahead, eyes wide, frozen in disbelief. Her lawyer stammered something about requesting a recess, but it was too late. The judge had already signed the warrant. Now, here's what the public didn't know. That pregnancy storyline was never real. Not the test, not the doctor visits, not the glowing interviews. It was all a carefully built illusion, sold to fans for clicks and sponsors for cash. Brands were lining up. One prenatal vitamin company reportedly paid her 5 figures for a pregnancy journey post. Another beauty brand pushed her as their new Mama Glow ambassador. Even baby brands slid into her inbox offering cribs and contracts. But behind the scenes, Chrissy wasn't shopping for strollers. She was scripting scenes. Because while the world was celebrating her so-called miracle baby, she was sipping champagne on set, whispering lies into burner phones, and letting the cameras roll. And then came the twist no one saw coming. The tape wasn't leaked by some anonymous hacker. Scape came from Camron. Yep, Mr. Purple Haze himself. Sources say Cam had the recording for months. A late-night phone call between him and Chrissy. Back when she was spiraling, back when Jim had gone cold and the fans weren't checking for her anymore, she thought she could trust him, thought he'd keep her secret. But when he got dragged into court as part of a separate drama tied to Dipset's financial fallout, he used the tape as leverage. If he was going down, she was going with him. And boy, did she go down. The footage was short, just under 2 minutes, but it was enough to burn everything to the ground. Her voice sang exactly what the world suspected but never had proof of: that the baby wasn't real. That the tears were for the cameras. That the whole thing was a scheme to keep Jim from walking out. The public exploded. Social media lit up like Times Square. One meme showed Chrissy at a fake baby shower with a cake that said, "Congratulations on your lie." Another had Jim holding an imaginary baby looking confused. And while the world laughed, Chrissy cried in holding. In a designer jumpsuit, in full makeup. Behind bars, but the story doesn't end there. Because hours after the courtroom chaos, another bomb dropped. Screenshots leaked from a secret group chat labeled Pregnancy Playbook. Inside were messages between Chrissy, a VH1 associate producer named Morgan B., and someone saved as CC Cam, believed to be Camron S. assistant. The texts were damning. "Morgan, we'll film the reveal in Miami. Just act emotional and say you missed your period." Chrissy, "Got it? I'll wear loose dresses and rub my belly during interviews." CC Cam, "Jim won't know what hit him. Lol." They weren't just faking a pregnancy, okay? They were producing it like a miniseries. Worse yet, those messages also included a plan to use Jim's mother in the storyline. Chrissy wrote, "I'll get Mama Jones to post about grandbabies. That'll sell it." The manipulation wasn't just emotional. It was strategic, it was monetized, and it worked. For a while, brands fell for it. The network doubled down. Chrissy was back in the headlines. But the problem with lies is they eventually fall apart, especially when everyone has receipts. Leaked Venmo screenshot showed a $10,000 payment to Chrissy labeled storyline incentive from a VH1 linked account. Just days after her first on-air pregnancy hint. That wasn't just deception, that was fraud. Asterisk, and while Chrissy sat in her holding cell, lashes still intact, her world kept collapsing. Mama Jones went live on Instagram, scarf on, cigarette lit, no filter. "I always knew she was full of games," she said. "No baby bump, no appointments, no nothing. Jim better wake up." And people listened. Comments flooded in. "You always kept it real, Mama." She played all of us. Chrissy wasn't just losing public support, she was losing the family she tried to manipulate into staying. Because the silence from Jim, that was the loudest betrayal of all. He didn't post, didn't show up, didn't even answer questions. Word is he packed up everything with Chrissy's name on it, photos, clothes, even her dog's food bowl, and left New York for good. Just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, a former Love and Hip Hop editor dropped another bomb. A clip never meant to air. Chrissy backstage, removing her mic, sighing deeply and muttering, "Damn, I hope nobody asks for proof. I can't fake this forever." And just like that, the audience turned completely. Fans who once defended her now dragged her in every comment section. Public opinion flipped. Brands began pulling out. A skincare company issued a statement cutting ties. A prenatal brand said they were shocked and appalled and had begun legal review. Chrissy wasn't just facing public humiliation anymore. She was staring down civil suits, criminal investigations, and total career collapse. The judge called for an emergency hearing. VH1 producers were subpoenaed. Morgan B. vanished from social media. Cameron's lawyer filed a gag order. And behind all the chaos, one rumor kept growing louder. That there wasn't just one tape, there was a second one, a video. Not just audio of Chrissy talking, but footage of her sitting in a hotel room with Morgan B., positive pregnancy tests on the table. A folder labeled Pregnancy Arc, Season 3 open in front of them. Chrissy reportedly says, "Once we get past episode 2, I'll fake the symptoms." The vitamin deal hits after that, and I'll claim high risk so I can skip the ultrasound storyline. Morgan replies, if it gets messy, we'll write in a miscarriage by episode 6. Fans will back off. That video hasn't been released publicly yet, but prosecutors confirmed it exists. And once it plays in court, Chrissy won't just be a reality star in cuffs. She'll be a fraud in court facing felony charges. The courtroom was buzzing. Reporters were scrambling to verify what they'd just seen while the judge sat back in his chair like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. Chrissy, now in a gray jumpsuit with her initials stitched in and not a drop of makeup left on her face, looked nothing like the diva that strutted across love and hip-hop sets for years. She looked tired, crushed, like the weight of her own lies was finally pressing down hard. But the prosecution wasn't done. As if the leaked voice memo and group chat screenshots weren't damaging enough, they dropped the next bomb, the hotel video. Yes, the one everyone had whispered about. And this time, the judge didn't just allow it. He demanded it. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered on, and there they were, Chrissy and Morgan B. sitting in a hotel suite at the W Hotel in Times Square. Designer bags on the floor, champagne on the table, and a stack of pregnancy tests clearly labeled props in Sharpie. Chrissy flipped through a script labeled Pregnancy Arc Season 3, casually pointing at pages. Her voice clear as day. Once we pass the second episode, I'll say I'm feeling dizzy. The prenatal deal hits right after. Then I'll ghost the ultrasound part and say I'm high risk. Fans eat that up. Morgan nodded. If it falls apart, we pivot to miscarriage. By episode 6, boom, sympathy arc. Problem solved. You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. The judge stared at the screen like he was watching a train derail in real time. This wasn't speculation anymore. It wasn't gossip. It was evidence. And it was brutal. Chrissy sat motionless. Her lawyer had nothing left to say. There was no denying it now. Not with her face on screen. Not with her voice outlining every step of the manipulation. And just when you thought the tension couldn't go any higher, the courtroom doors opened again. And in walked Yandi Smith. Yes, that Yandi. The same woman who almost threw hands with Chrissy on Love and Hip Hop. The same one who told her, "Do you think you a wife because you've been engaged for 15 years? Yeah, that one. She entered like a final twist in a soap opera. Subpoena in hand, escorted by legal counsel. Ready to testify. Gasps swept the gallery. Someone in the back literally whispered, "This is giving series finale." Yandi walked straight to the stand, took the oath, and sat down without flinching. And then she spilled everything. Yes, Chrissy lied. Yes, Morgan helped her plan it. Yes, Camron knew. And yes, VH1 paid her to keep the story going. The courtroom lost it. The judge leaned back like he needed a moment to breathe. Even the bailiffs looked shook. Yandi continued, calm but firm. "I warned producers this would blow up. I told them faking a pregnancy for ratings would backfire. But they didn't care. They said if the drama brings views, it's worth it. And when Chrissy got scared, they told her to fake a miscarriage if things got exposed." Boom. That was the line. That was the moment. Mic drop. Chrissy finally cracked. She broke down on the spot, sobbing into her hands. Her voice trembled. "I didn't want it to go this far, but I had nothing left. Jim wasn't coming home. My career was done. Nobody was checking for me. I thought if I gave them something dramatic enough, I'd matter again. But the damage was done. The lie was too big. The manipulation too cold." The judge ordered an immediate federal investigation into VH1's production practices, citing potential ethical violations and emotional exploitation. Morgan B. was escorted out by federal agents mid-hearing. VH1 issued a shaky statement, blaming individual decision-making and vowing to review their internal protocols. No one believed it. Not the public, not the courtroom, not the advertisers. Social media went into overdrive. Petitions to cancel Love and Hip Hop racked up over 100,000 signatures overnight. Brands began cutting ties with the entire franchise. Sponsors ghosted. Even longtime cast members started distancing themselves. But the fallout wasn't over, because just when everyone thought they'd seen it all, the prosecution introduced another piece of evidence, a wire transfer receipt from Camron's company Purple Haze LLC, to an offshore account labeled Narrative Development. The amount? $60,000. The date? 2 weeks before Chrissy announced her pregnancy online. It's the memo. Narrative rollout planning. The courtroom exploded again. Cam wasn't there, of course. His team claimed he was traveling internationally, but insiders said he'd been quietly lawyering up since the first arrest was made. And if that wasn't enough, the FTC stepped in. That's right, the Federal Trade Commission. Why? Because Chrissy promoted prenatal vitamins and baby-safe skincare products while knowingly faking a pregnancy. That's not just deceptive, it's potentially criminal. Multiple companies launched lawsuits. One brand, Glow Mama Naturals, released a public statement. We partnered with Ms. Lampkin in good faith. We are appalled to learn the pregnancy was fabricated. We will be pursuing legal action. Chrissy, already in a legal freefall, now faced fraud claims, civil suits, and possible FTC penalties. Jim Jones, meanwhile, still hadn't said a word, but his actions spoke volumes. According to sources, he sent his team to clear out their shared apartment photos, clothes, even Chrissy's dog's food bowl, all gone. A total wipeout. He didn't show up to court, didn't post a thing. Word on the street. He left New York altogether and was seen in Paris, meeting with independent documentary producers. And what were they working on? A docuseries, reportedly, titled The Last Truth, promising to reveal everything behind the Dipset breakup. Chrissy's scheme, Cam's betrayal, and the true emotional cost of 20 years with a woman who allegedly never loved him, just the limelight. But the mess didn't stop with the celebrities, because buried in the VH1 production archive were old emails between Chrissy and a former cast member named Trina Bell. Trina had faded into the background after season 3 and was now a hairstylist in Atlanta. But her emails? Pure chaos. In 1, Chrissy wrote, "Jim, don't think straight when he emotionally. If I hit him with the pregnancy and the Cam drama, he'll snap. He'll marry me out of guilt." Trina responded. "Even if it's fake," Chrissy replied. "By the time he finds out, I'll have my season, my ring, and my legacy." Exchange was read aloud in court, word for word. The entire room sat frozen. It wasn't just manipulation. It was premeditated, orchestrated emotional warfare. The judge, at this point visibly furious, slammed the gavel and announced an official federal ethics probe into VH1's entire production unit. This court believes what we're witnessing is not just personal deception, but systemic exploitation. Panic erupted behind the scenes. Producers were scrambling. Lawyers were whispering. Morgan B. had already been taken into custody. The rest of the team under review. And Chrissy, she sat there silently, the cameras catching every twitch, every tear. Every ounce of what used to be power now crumbling into humiliation. Asterisk, as Chrissy sat there frozen, staring at the courtroom floor like it might open up and swallow her whole. The final nail in the coffin was already being hammered in behind the scenes. Federal agents weren't just combing through emails and call logs anymore. They had opened up VH1's financial files, looking for proof that producers had knowingly incentivized this storyline beyond just ratings. Okay? And that's exactly what they found. Internal memos with subject lines like engagement, ARC funding, and pregnancy boost package started surfacing, outlining bonus structures for cast members willing to enhance narrative arcs. Translation: lie on camera for money. Chrissy, of course, was listed as a high-tier performer, reportedly pulling in up to $30,000 per bonus episode if she hit all her emotional cues. And yes, one memo literally included a checkbox labeled "Tears on camera." The audience watching from home couldn't believe it. It's the same Chrissy who once told young girls to know their worth was now exposed as someone who weaponized womanhood for screen time and brand deals. And the internet did not hold back. Scripted tears started trending. Memes exploded Chrissy, photoshopped next to a fake baby bump on QVC. Selling lies in 4K. Even Mama Jones was back on Instagram Live, hair wrapped in a bonnet, puffing on her cigarette and saying, "Didn't I say she was full of it?" That girl cried all the way to the bank, and now she'd gone cry all the way to jail. And just when it felt like every secret had already spilled, yet another twist dropped like a bombshell in the middle of the courtroom. An anonymous whistleblower submitted one final piece of evidence, a voice recording, this time from a production meeting. The voices. Two senior VH1 producers casually discussing the fake pregnancy plot like they were mapping out a cooking show. One of them said, "If Chrissy goes through with the miscarriage storyline, we'll get sympathy numbers through the roof. Advertisers eat that stuff up." The other replied, "Yeah, we'll make it a 2-episode arc. Milk it before viewers find out it's all scripted." The judge's face turned red. You could feel the courtroom's air thicken with shock. This wasn't just a lie anymore. It was exploitation in high definition, and the receipts were now undeniable. That afternoon, federal prosecutors announced formal charges against VH1's parent company for negligence, emotional manipulation, and unethical reality production practices. Sponsors dropped out faster than cast members during reunion brawls. Legal analysts on YouTube and TikTok were calling this the biggest scandal to hit reality TV since the Real Housewives wire fraud debacle. But this one felt different, more invasive, because this time it wasn't about money. It was about weaponizing something. Sacred pregnancy, motherhood, loss for fame, for clout, for clips. And at the center of it all stood Chrissy Lampkin, no longer a reality star, just a woman alone in the most public collapse imaginable. Jim Jones, still silent, had reportedly ghosted everyone Evan is label. Sources claim he's now in Cape Town, working with a South African film crew on what's rumored to be a global docuseries titled The Engagement That Never Ended. The tagline, 20 years of silence, one final truth. Word is, he's not just spilling tea on Chrissy, he's exposing dipset Camron, the VH1 backroom politics. And the emotional toll that came with playing the loyal fiancé while being publicly dragged through scripted chaos. And here's where it gets darker. Camron's name resurfaced again, not through court, but through another leak. That same encrypted server that dropped Chrissy's hotel footage allegedly held private texts between Cam and none other than Erica Mena. Yeah, that Erica. And in the messages, Cam brags about finessing the whole game, claiming he convinced Chrissy to do the fake pregnancy plot by offering her a cut of a brand deal tied to a fake maternity wear line. Erica replied, "That's wild, but I can't even hate the hustle." If those messages make it into court, we're not just looking at one woman's manipulation anymore. We're looking at a multi-person conspiracy to profit from one of the most sensitive subjects imaginable. The judge had seen enough. The charges against Chrissy were officially upgraded to felony-level fraud, conspiracy to defraud the public, and willful misrepresentation for commercial gain. Her sentence, if convicted, up to 8 years behind bars. When she was remanded into custody without bail, the courtroom didn't gasp. They exhaled. Because by that point, even her last defenders had faded into silence. There were no more excuses, no more tears that could be trusted. Just a woman who had spent years trying to script the perfect story and ended up trapped in her own plot. Outside the courthouse, it wasn't just media, it was a movement. Protesters lined the sidewalks, not political groups, but regular women, holding handmade signs that said things like "pregnancy is not a PR stunt" and "motherhood is not for ratings." One woman tearfully held up a photo of her stillborn daughter and said, "That storyline mocked everything I went through. Lock her up." And suddenly this wasn't just a reality scandal, which a cultural reckoning. A call out to the entire industry that turned trauma into TV time, pain into packages, and womanhood into performance. And then came the final blow. In the last hour of the trial's first week, the prosecution introduced receipts from a canceled book deal. Chrissy had been shopping a manuscript titled Forever Yours, maybe the Chrissy Chronicles. The proposal claimed it would reveal the raw, unfiltered truth about love, loss, and loyalty in a world that never cared. But after her arrest, the publishing house pulled the deal immediately. Their statement: "We do not support fraudulent narratives that exploit public trust." Her literary dreams, gone. Her brand deals, gone. Her fans, betrayed. One last twist came in the form of a final witness, Trina Bell, Chrissy's ex-best friend, who had once played the sidekick role on Love and Hip Hop and then vanished. Trina, now a hairstylist in Atlanta, was subpoenaed after old emails between her and Chrissy were found buried in a VH1 cloud archive. And those emails were jaw-dropping. In one, Chrissy wrote, "If Jim thinks I'm pregnant, he'll stop messing with those groupies. He'll lock in. All I need is 6 weeks of loyalty for the cameras." Trina responded, "Girl, this ain't love, this is chess." Chrissy's reply, "It's reality TV. We don't need real love, we need the illusion of it." That line, "the illusion of it," became the media's new headline. It summed up everything: the relationship, the storyline, the downfall. The judge, no longer patient, slammed his gavel one final time and declared the case a federal matter. The court would continue under the supervision of special prosecutors. Multiple VH1 producers were placed under federal investigation. Morgan B. was already in custody, and Chrissy Lampkin was no longer a star, no longer a fiancé, no longer a brand ambassador, just a woman in a jumpsuit facing hard time. As they led her out of the courtroom, her last words were barely audible. "Tell Jim, I didn't mean for it to end like this." But by then, Jim had already boarded a flight out of Europe, destination unknown. And the cameras, finally, weren't following. If your jaw is still on the floor, trust me, you're not alone. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a masterclass in manipulation, a reality show unraveling in real time with no edit button, no confessional cuts, and no scripted redemption arc. Chrissy didn't just fake a storyline, she faked her whole truth. From fake baby bumps to burner phone voice memos, from hotel room plots to federally sealed evidence. This wasn't entertainment. This was a ticking time bomb dressed in designer and detonated live in court. But now we turn the spotlight to you. What do you think? Was Chrissy a victim of a ruthless industry that chews up women and spits them out? Or was she the director of her own downfall, willing to sacrifice everything including motherhood for 15 more minutes of relevance? Should VH1 be held accountable for allowing this to unfold under their roof? Do you think Camron should be next in court? And where is Jim in all of this? Is he healing in peace or preparing to unleash a truth bomb of his own? One thing's for sure, this saga isn't over, and if the leaks we're hearing are true, another cast member might be on the chopping block next. So don't just scroll away, drop your take in the comments. Who's the real villain here? Hit that like button. If your brain is still trying to process this mess, subscribe if you're ready for part 2 of the takedown, because we've got tapes, transcripts, and tea that'll make this look like the calm before the storm. The cameras might be off, but the truth, it's still rolling. Stay locked in, locked in.